Mr. McDonald.
The mayor and council wish to acknowledge the town of Fort Smith is located within Treaty 8 territory. Treaty 8 territory also encompasses the traditional homelands of the Salt River First Nation, Smith Landing First Nation, and the Indigenous Métis people of Fort Smith. These nations have maintained stewardship of their sacred lands throughout the generations. We honor your knowledge, teachings, traditions, and the land. We are mindful that colonization has not been kind. We respectfully recognize our generational histories and commit to strive for unity in the spirit of truth and reconciliation.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Approval of agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Any questions?
No question.
What happened there?
Cynthia.
Okay. Yeah, SAO.
I was just wondering if we could add under administration our unsightly notice regarding the old fire building, as well as there was a second one.
Theater.
The what?
No, it
The
was
generator for the rec center.
The generator. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
And I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? All in favor. Okay, tonight we have a presentation by the RCMP delegation.
Oh, hello. Right. Did everyone get a copy of the mayor's report? Okay, gotcha. All right. Sergeant Cormier from the Fort Smith RCMP. I'm just going to go over the policing report for the last month of May. Just go over into small details here. So we had 209 calls for service in the town of Fort Smith during the month of May 2022. Focusing on the priorities for the initiatives that we have identified at the beginning of the year: road safety and police, community relationships, and reconciliation in youth. For the efforts of road safety, we conducted 3 check stops for impaired drivers during the month of May. 26 vehicles were checked in total, resulting in 1 roadside suspension. We received 3 calls of impaired operation also as well for the month of May, resulting in 1 individual being charged and suspended for impaired driving operation. For the initiative of police and community relationships, we continue to be involved in the town of Fort Smith amidst being short for resources. We led the convoy for missing murdered Indigenous women as well too in the month of May. We did that, leading the parade and the convoy for that. We attended the elementary school for a visit. We attended ball hockey, attended the local comedy shows during the month of May as well too, just to kind of provide coverage for it because there was more people there. We attended ball hockey again on the 24th of May. We continue with the donations with the moms and tots, and Corporal Leduc can advise which programs that she donates to, but I think it's boobs and moms or whatever that's the program is called. She donates clothing to people in need and families in need of clothing and art supplies and food as well too. We also started to coach lacrosse as well too with Constable Nordstrom has started doing that during the month of May. Again, with the third priority for reconciliation in youth, we keep getting involved with the youth. Corporal Leduc, she continued to be involved on twice a week with toddler time, moms and tots as well too. And again, as mentioned before, donating some clothing to youth and families in need. Notable occurrences for the month. Nothing that stood really out there. We had the one that really stood out though was the 1st of May. We had actually had a prison breach at the Male Corrections, Fort Smith Male Corrections, where we were able to apprehend the male in quick fashion within an hour of when it was reported to us. We were able to apprehend him and bring him back to custody at NSCC Yellowknife. That matter is being investigated further by Fort Smith Corrections Center in regards to their security breach protocols. So I can't really comment on that. It's based on their investigation, but our investigation, we found an individual in quick fashion and we brought him back into custody. So that's additional charge were laid against the individual. The other notice occurrence of kind of stood out. We had a report of a break and enter that resulted a week prior being reported to us. Resulted in about $17,000 worth of jewelry being stolen. Again, a week delay when it was reported to us. So we're still we're going to be investigating further with the insurance company, but it's kind of hard for us to find any leads at this point. But the insurance company will have their investigation team looking at that as well too. We received some fraud reports as well too during the month of May, where people, and that's one of the thing that we want to take care of as well too, with reconciliation with the elders in town as well too. Lots of frauds from the CRA. CRA will be calling, advising that they owe them money, and that if they didn't pay them, they would be arrested. Well, we want to advise the public that's not a typical fashion that the RCMP will call them asking for money, and then if you don't pay, they're going to get arrested. We don't arrest over the phone; we arrest in person. So, so be mindful of those things, especially in this video broadcast, advising that if the CRA calls owing money, it's not a typical fashion of the CRA to do over the phone. We had some erratic drivers increasing their patrols with road safety as well too. We had a couple of pretty significant assaults as well too, where individuals were charged. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. We had 14 complaints under the Mental Health Act involving individuals who had threatened to harm themselves. It all resulted in good results, no harm to them, and then been being followed through with the health department. We had 17 calls for service related to missing persons or check on well-being. All 17 had a positive outcome as well too. We had 9 calls of service resulting to assaults, 2 calls of service involving assaults with a weapon or causing bodily harm. 2 of these files are still under investigation with charges pending in court. And that's it in a nutshell for priorities. For our current detachment strength, we're still short, as mentioned in a prior meeting. There's myself, Corporal Stephanie Leduc is on maternity leave right now. Also, Jason Emmons is on maternity leave as well too. Constable Nordstrom is here. Constable Nadeau is here. Constable Gibson is here, and Constable Jesse Woodward was here last week. He was going to come again tonight to present himself, but he went right into the fire, and he's already volunteering for the canoe program here in town. So he's already on the water volunteering with youth there as well too. So he went right into it and is right out fully involved in the community. So which is good to hear. I will try to bring him next for the next meeting. And that's it in a nutshell. As mentioned before, 209 calls for last month, a bit higher than last year, but not too much. We had 201 last year, this month as well. Prisoner held, we had 14 as opposed to 11 last year this month. So our prisoner counts is a bit higher, but nothing too out of the ordinary. And that's pretty much it. Open to questions. So,
Thank you very much for your report. Do we have any questions? Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. It's really good to see impaired drivers getting, community acting and reporting, and then you guys are able to follow up on them and have success of catching them. I just had a question from the community about cycling and bikes and bike and road safety. It's come up now, summer, more people are riding, and we always get are we allowed on the sidewalk? Do we ride on the road? Where are we supposed to be? And Fort Smith, as we all know, has kind of short, small, narrow roads, so it makes it unsafe sometimes for kids and youth to drive. I'm just wondering if you guys have a plan for like a bike route safety. I've seen them before in the past where it's like hand out helmets, teaching bike safety for young adults and adults, kids, everyone?
No, we have not for this year, just based on our resourcing. We have not planned one, but it's not something that we can't. I mean, of course, it'd be ideal if we had it this time when bike season is actually in play. But I can actually bring it up to our plan next year for sure to have it done. To answer your questions in regards to the sidewalk and road and all that stuff, that's more of a bylaw. I've seen that. I can tell you that we don't have time to go and enforce bikes on the sidewalk. That'd be more of a bylaw issue with Adam. Yeah, I can't really comment. I don't know. I haven't researched the bylaw that thoroughly to see if it's actually allowed or not on the sidewalk. But we can revisit the road safety, the bike. We had a bike rodeo in other communities that I've had before. It was all based on resourcing. This short notice, it'd be hard for us to plan, but we can revisit in the future for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other questions? Nothing? Yeah, maybe on that bike rodeo, maybe, for next year, we could look at going joint venture. Put it in the arena or something. I know we do something in the summertime to it. So why don't we just look at joint venture and work together on it? So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then we can have Aboriginal policing is all up for that, and it's not for lack of wanting to do it. It's just a lack of having the resources to do it, and that could be a great project for a new member as well that just came in there last week. So we can maybe try to pitch it. It could be maybe during the end of the summer as well too. We could maybe try to visit it. A bit late, but better late than never, kind of thing. So.
Yeah, and it'd be a good thing too, the town and the RCMP working together,
Yeah.
hand in hand. That's what I'm trying to do is build bridges
Mm-hmm.
where bridges weren't before. So
Yeah, we're all
That's a
up, we're
different
all
way of
open. It's
looking
all
at it.
based on what the community wants as well too. So
Right. So thank you for your
Yeah. No problem.
your thing there. Gone brain dead. Report.
You're welcome.
Okay, approval of council minutes.
I move that the minutes of the regular meeting 05/22, May 17, 2022 be adopted as presented.
I'll second that.
Any questions? All in favor, pass unanimously.
I move that the minutes of special meeting 02/22, May 03, 2022 be adopted as presented.
I'll second that.
Any questions? I see none. All in favor? All in favor, pass unanimously.
Sorry, I just need to, I was not at that meeting, so I have to withdraw my second of that.
Okay, withdrawn.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions? See none. All in favor? All in favor, pass unanimously.
I move that the minutes of the special meeting 03/22, June 10, 2022 be adopted as presented.
I'll second that.
Questions? All in favor, pass unanimously. Business arising from the minutes. Any questions? Declaration of financial interest. Statement of disclosure of interest. Don't see any. Okay, moving along. Council business.
I move that the Corporate Services Standing Committee minutes from June 7th, 2022 be adopted as presented.
I'll second that.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? All in favor, carrying on.
I move that DPA 012-22 submitted by Dan Kearley to operate a home occupation business, odds and ends from Lot 12, Plan 220, 12 Partridge Street in Fort Smith be approved as presented.
I'll second that.
Any questions? I see none, all in favor? Passed unanimously.
I'll move that DPA-013-222 Jody Ann Miltenberger, submitted by Jody Ann Miltenberger, be operated home business, Jody's Kitchen from Lot 1787, Plan 43141, 16-103 Wilderness Road in Fort Smith be approved as presented.
I'll second.
Any questions? I see none, moving along, all in favor? Passed unanimously.
Use June 28th, Councillor Duffy, not June 22nd.
I'll move that the Community Service Standing Committee minutes from June 14th, 2022 be adopted as presented.
I'll second.
Any questions? See none, all in favor? Passed unanimously.
I'll move that Marine Drive from Wapiti Street to Mill Street be closed to traffic on July 1st, 2022 from 10:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. for the Canada Day celebrations. Furthermore, that Portage Ave in front of the RCMP detachment to the corner of McDougall Road along McDougall Road from Portage Ave to Mill Street be closed for the Canada Day parade from 11:30 a.m. till 1 p.m.
I'll second.
Any questions? See none, all in favor? Passed unanimously.
I'll move that Rupert Ave be closed to traffic on June 21st, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for the National Indigenous Peoples Day celebrations.
Second that.
Any questions? See none, all in favor?
I move that Emily Colucci be appointed SAO from July 18th, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. until August 15th, 2022 at 8:30 a.m.
I'll second that.
Any questions? See none, all in favor? Okay. All in favor, passed unanimously.
I move that council support the Connie Bear Park Advisory Committee with option 3 presented by IBI Group so they can move forward in the process.
I'll second that.
Any questions? I see none, all in favor? Passed unanimously.
I'll move that the Municipal Service Standing Committee minutes from June 14th, 2022 be adopted as presented.
I'll second.
Any questions? See none, all in favor? Passed unanimously.
I move that the town of Fort Smith continue slope monitoring solutions with woods and ongoing work be addressed in the capital plan moving forward.
I'll second that.
Any questions? See none, all in favor? Passed unanimously.
Sorry. Okay. I'll move that an additional $55,000 be allocated to the fire hydrant replacement budget from the Canada Community Building Fund. That the relocation and replacement of the fire hydrants be awarded to Precision Industries at the cost of $64,941.13.
I'll second that.
Any questions? I see none, all in favor? All in favor, pass unanimously.
I move that the tender for demolition of the building at 61 Portage Avenue be awarded to Fort Smith Construction in the amount of $74,500.
I'll second that.
Okay, any questions? I see none. All in favor? All in favor? It passed unanimously.
I move that the town of Fort Smith implement the recommendations that changes to the PWK and JBT crosswalks as indicated in the Integrated Transportation Master Plan, as well as a radar sign.
I'll second that.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Passed unanimously.
I move that bylaw 1035 property tax accounts forgiveness of debt be given a first reading, whereas the council of the municipal corporation of the town of Fort Smith in the Northwest Territories is satisfied that certain debts owed to the town of Fort Smith are not collectible or should be forgiven for other reasons. Now therefore, the council of the town of Fort Smith at a duly assembled meeting enacts as follows. All those debts owed to the town of Fort Smith itemized in Schedule A attached to the former part of this bylaw are forgiven. That the bylaw 1035 property tax accounts forgiveness of debt be given a second reading by title only.
I'll second that.
Any questions? I see none. All in favor?
I'll move that the bylaw 1035 property tax accounts forgiveness of debts be given a second reading by title only.
I will second.
Any questions? Okay, I see none. All in favor? All in favor, pass unanimously. Oh. SAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to give council an update on this particular bylaw. This will go to the minister for approval. And even if you couldn't do a third reading tonight, but even if you had full council in attendance, you still would have to hold off on your third reading because we now have to make sure that the community members who might be of interest, this might be of interest to them, are able to comment on it. So it would take we would give a month of we'll put out PSA this week to inform members of the community about that, and they can make their comments, and then the minister will have to approve it before third reading.
Okay. Councillor Campbell.
Do we have to post this for a month too? Or notify the public?
We'll put out a public service announcement to let people know that that's happening, and then they can come in and see the full bylaw once, if it's of interest to them.
Okay, thanks. Any more questions? I see none. All in favor? All in favor, pass unanimously.
I'll move that the council approve a $1,000 donation to PWK trip for Peace River, Alberta to attend a powwow.
I'll second that.
Okay, any questions? I see none. All in favor? All in favor, pass unanimously.
I'll move that council approve the addition of $74,550 to the contract awarded to accommodate the change order requested by Precision Industries to ensure proper resolution of the sewer line issue on Calder Ave.
I'll second.
Any questions?
I voted in favor when this thing was out to get it done and everything. Sorry. But we got to have some kind of better, when we do an estimate and everything, and what's happening there. Did we have our local engineering firm check out the work before it was done or anything? Because that's quite a substantial amount to be extra for a job?
SAO.
That's a great question that Councillor Campbell has presented. Yes, so once the contractor opened up the roadway, they identified a significant issue with the actual sewer main, that it had no grade to it. So they did contact the local engineering company to come in and do survey work for them in order to plan to properly grade the new sewer line.
Councillor McDonald, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So prior to the original award of the contract, was the engineering firm in and able to do any kind of ground investigation to determine the depth of that sewer line originally, or if there was any ongoing issue further down the road? Or was this just something that couldn't be predetermined? Thank you.
Councillor SAO.
Again, good question. We have had ongoing issues with this sewer line, particularly for one resident on Calder. It has been cameraed several times. And what we anticipated was the major problem was that there were roots and things growing into the line. And so that is what we anticipated dealing with, was replacing that part of the main. However, once the road was opened up, there was significant difference in the work that needed to be done in order to make sure that we didn't continue to have waste sitting in the sewer line without any grade. So based on the work that was proposed and the engineering after it was identified that we needed to have a different solution, this was what the our local contractor and engineer came up with as the best solution.
Thanks. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I'm not necessarily questioning what was done, because obviously it had to be done. I guess my question was, was an engineer involved prior to the dig starting to ensure that the whole issue was properly identified beyond just the scope of running the scope down the pipe? Because as I understand it, there was an issue with the depth of the pipe as well, which was contributing to the lack of flow in the proper direction. So I'm just curious as to if that process happened prior to us putting the work out to a contractor. Thank you.
SAO.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And I would have to ask the Director of Municipal Services if we were even able to find any as-built on this with indicating the depth of the line. From my understanding, the engineer, when he came in, was also surprised by the depth of the line. So I don't think there's any local knowledge about it or necessarily any documentation about it. So the engineer wouldn't have been called in because we thought this was just a typical repair to the line.
Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
So during this process of opening the line and digging it down and putting the new line in, did we have an engineer watch the compaction and everything that was happening on that sewer main?
SAO.
I would have to speak to the Director of Municipal Services. I know he was on site regularly, and they did do compaction testing. So he did mention that to me today. So I am assuming that that the appropriate people were on site for that.
Okay, Councillor Campbell.
Well, just because on our last project we have lots of compaction issues, we say, and then on something starting on a main again, we should have an engineer watching the compaction during the whole process, not just on site back and forth, just to cover ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? I see none. All in favor? All in favor? Passed unanimously. Appointments. What are we doing next year? Okay. Mayor and council, board representative updates.
I would just like to thank my fellow councilors and the mayor, deputy mayor, and the town staff for all the work that they've been doing around town. And I think the only concern I have at this particular moment is there seems to be a lot of talk about unsightly lands. And we're getting a lot of feedback from community members about how our ditches and our fields are looking. And I think we need to do a little bit more work around town in terms of town property and keeping it looking shipshape, considering all that's going on. I'd like to mention that I attended the Aurora College graduation, and one of the presentations that was made by the acting vice president, Jeff O'Keefe, kind of presented himself as getting quite choked up, and understandably, the general governor's award went to Landon McNeil post. I have a problem with that word. Posthumously awarded to Landon McNeil, who was a long-term employee for the town of Fort Smith. And it's my understanding that the Governor General's award in the field of education isn't an award that's handed out too freely to the provinces and the territories. So it's a very high honor to have had a former town employee to receive that for the year 2019, 2020, because it's always awarded 2 years behind. It's an honor for our family and an honor for the community. I also had the privilege of attending the MMIG, and it was a little disappointing because I didn't see any representation from the town of Fort Smith. It was a very good turnout, and I think the plan is over the next few years is to increase the turnout and the effort putting into the MMIG days, remembrance days. And I'd just like to give the town of Fort Smith and our First Nations group a pat in the back for the very, very good job they did for the Aboriginal Day. And it was a very good gathering, and they've had an attendance of about 800 people, which is pretty good for Fort Smith. And in closing, that's all I have to say for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to say how great the spring cleanup was. I walk around the community and I see a noticeable difference in folks' yards, and the town staff did a great job cleaning up, getting all that debris out. And I think it really helped having the no tipping fee. A lot of folks could access a service that wasn't available to them before, and it shows. And I think it was a really good movement, and then maybe for future plan on that, like waive those tipping fees so folks can access the service. National Indigenous Peoples Day, it was awesome to see so many people out as a whole community event. After COVID, we don't get to see a lot of that, and it's nice feeling it more normalized. And I just want to remind everyone that schools are out, so there's lots of kids out there. So still be slow in school zones and parks, because there's going to be more kids out there. And just because there's no school doesn't mean that it's the 30-kilometer limit is not there anymore. That's all.
Thank you to my two fellow councilors. That's lots of good ideas there too. And I also, lots of concern about is the sweeping of the streets and sidewalks. It's late in the season already, and we're still waiting for parts for our machine. The contractors should be out there if they have the machines. That's one big thing. And crack filling. We got a lot of pot filling, side of the blacktop to be filled up and everything. That's another major thing. Our streets are horrible. Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. I wanted to first give a shout out to Lars Roche, who is running the local radio station, and I had the opportunity to go there and do our council clips 10 days or 12 days ago, whatever it was, and very welcoming young man who is really good at what he does. Very easy to interact with him and provide that information to the community. So I just wanted to encourage anyone that is listening or watching this on YouTube that, you know, we're going to continue as a council to provide that information as one of our methods of communication to the community. And each week or each month, we will get a new message out and try and ensure that we're providing as much information to keep everyone updated in as many formats as we possibly can. I also wanted to say that as a organization, we've been working really hard at improving our communication, and I know we're not quite there yet in all formats and in all areas, but we are continuing to work, and we ask that I would like to ask the community to be patient as we, you know, explore new avenues of how we can get the information to everyone. We realize that Facebook is not the only means of providing information to the community, and we are certainly trying to find ways to get all of this information to all of our citizens. The other thing I wanted to mention was this year, this is the second year that Environment and Natural Resources has done an all-female EFF training camp for Type 3 firefighters. This year it's at Tabacha. There's a number of young ladies from all across the NWT here participating. Councillor Bolio is going to be providing this with some words of wisdom later in the week. And I just wanted to say it's really nice to see that type of activity happening in our community and different communities around the north, and engaging these young ladies in non-traditional occupation. So it's really, really good to see. And my last note would be just a heads up to everyone, the forests are tinder dry. There's lots of fire across the Northwest Territories. So as you're enjoying your long weekend, be safe. Thank you.
I don't have too much to say. I've been gone for about a month now and just getting back to normal here. I just want to say congratulations to the PWK High School graduates this year, and also the JBT students that are transferring over to the high school next year. And I guess my main concern is the roads in Fort Smith. They are in poor shape, and we're going to end up having accidents here in the community if we don't get the road straightened out. Otherwise, have a safe holiday and a safe summer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council. Okay, the first thing I guess is the Legion has agreed to have the SPA announcements on their billboard in front of the Legion building. So we're going in partnership with that stuff. Canada Day Fish Fry, July 1st, 2022 at the Riverside Park after the parade. There will be a fish fry this year. Big thanks to all Fort Smith staff for all the hard work making the town look more beautiful, and to the residents also. I know right now we're no different than the other business or whatever it is here. We do have shortages here, and sometimes it falls around garbage day and that, and we are trying to deal with it. So when that stuff happens, it's just we just don't have the manpower to do it, but we are working through it. So please bear with us there. Paving will start early August. Please be mindful to the crews on the roads. Sewer work is underway. I think we've caught up probably, I'd say probably 70% of it. We have one more dig starting in July, probably the 7th, which is another major problem, but we're going to fix it this year. And from all of our old sewers, we should be pretty well caught up. The ones that are coming will be new ones, but these have been hindering the town for the last 20 some years or whatever. But they are being fixed, and we're doing it all in probably one season. It was a mad rush this year. The school is going to be out soon at the end of the month, so please watch out for kids on bikes, scooters, and playing in the playgrounds. The MMIWG, we had a meeting with them today. The meeting went great. That's the Indigenous Murdered Women. I'm not sure what the whole thing is, but we did meet with them, and we are going to probably be meeting with them in probably quarterly, if I'm right. So, and that went along good. We went a little bit overboard on it, and overboard as I mean is, I've been bringing this up for the last 15, 20 years, is if you're going to deal with justice, then you have to deal with the criminal code, because the criminal code is simply not working. I mean, let's be honest about it. So that has to be dealt with. So my thinking there is Canadians in the North and as well right across Canada have to stand up at some point and say that they want changes to the criminal code, because there's no MP that is going to push that effort, because it's a non-popular thing. But the Canadian people at some point has got to stand up and ask for changes, want changes, because the system the way it is does not work for you. I mean, I'm really being honest. So anyway, past that, we did get ENR in here helping us on one property after they're burning, and they're just about done. That's the property across the liquor store. When you turn around that corner, you look at it and it looks like Sleepy Hollow. It just doesn't belong in the community. So I want to deal with it, and we're dealing with it. So thanks. Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a couple of items that we added, but if it so pleases Mr. Mayor and Council, I will just respond to a couple of comments for Council, as well as make a couple of quick announcements. In regards to the ditches needing to be mowed and some issues with the fields, that is 100% correct. The Director of Municipal Services and I discuss this regularly. Unfortunately, we have some human resource issues, as mentioned by the Mayor previously, which result in work not being completed in a timely fashion. We are looking to pick up some additional staff as soon as possible. So hopefully we'll be able to get people who attend to do those jobs of cutting the ditches and cutting the parks and playgrounds, and making sure the ditches are cleaned of garbage as well. Street sweeping has been done. Unfortunately, as Councillor Campbell mentioned, our street sweeper is out of commission. Both of the contractors in the community who have a street sweeper do not have one that has an adequate amount of bristles, so that we were unable to complete the work due to that. And I believe one of them is awaiting a delivery of some additional bristles. So hopefully we'll be able to get that out in the next bit as soon as that happens. As well, we'll be dealing with our own street sweeper. Paving, as the Mayor mentioned, paving will be happening in August over quite a large portion of the community. All of the, a majority of the unpaved roads will be receiving their pavement finally. Just give you a little heads up, the Director has gone on a tour with the contractor around the community, and we've identified other potential areas where it might be better to address with a paving patch rather than staff patching. I believe Councillor McDonald, for instance, has that problem outside of his residence where staff attempted to patch it and it hasn't lasted. So we're going to make sure that the places where we do additional work that is more patch related is that it's done to the best of resources that we have available. Crack filling is happening in the community based on the resources that we have, as well as the numerous other jobs that our staff are engaged in. There's typically a day a week assigned to crack filling. So that's, in amongst flushing, dealing with garbage collection, work at the dump, and those sorts of things. So there's quite a bit of work that our team does. And so crack filling is one of the activities that happens regularly once a week, typically throughout the next month and a half or so. So yeah, there is a lot of work happening and still a lot of work to be done around the community. I did want to let council know that myself and 5 of our staff members recently received our completion certificates for the Northern Leadership Development Program through Aurora College. This is a 9-month program in which for 3 days of each month, there's a leadership module that we complete. And so this is the first time the town has been through this program. The staff have given great feedback, those who attended, and we have some other staff that we've identified maybe taking it next year. So I want to congratulate Emily Clucci, the Director of Community Services, Andrew Grenier, the Director of Municipal Services, Jeff Schwarzenberger, who was our Community Services Program Coordinator for Recreation and Special Events, Sam Stockel, who was our Library Arts and Culture Coordinator, and Diane Seals, who is our Economic Development Officer, for completing that program. I think that most of them would easily identify places where they've experienced growth, and I can certainly identify places where all of them experienced growth in their leadership skills. So that's all of that. If there's no questions from council on any of those, we could move to the added items. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, any questions? I see none. All in favor? No.
No motion.
Okay, just carry on, I guess.
So the first item maybe that we can address is the old fire building on the property, the Greens. I see Councillor McDonald's already got his hand up.
Councillor McDonald.
Should I finish? Oh, yeah, please. Okay, sorry. The old fire building on the corner of the green space at the arena. We did receive an unsightly notice for that building. I had asked for an extension to the end of summer to determine what we would do with that building. And I think at this point, I'm just looking for direction from council of how we'd like to move forward with that building. I think there's ultimately 2 options. There is restoration of the building. The roof is kind of caving in, so there would be some requirements to shore that up and ensure that the building is structurally sound and that no one can get into it. We do have other buildings in the community that, however locked they might be, are often entered into. So if this is the case with this building, we do want to make sure that it is going to be safe should somebody choose to enter into it, despite the locked doors. The other option would be to remove the building. And I'm just seeking council's direction on which way, or just bringing it to your attention for more discussion.
Okay, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so I guess I have a couple of things I'd like to say about this. And one is, I don't know that this is a decision I feel I should make myself. I think it's a community decision. I know that building has a historical significance to the community, being the first fire hall, and maybe more significant to the community is the history of it being the boxing club from many, many years ago, and a lot of long-term residents participated in activities in that building. And I think before we as a council make a decision on the future of that building, whether it's restored or destroyed or whatever, that we talk to our elders and our community members and get the community's feedback on what they'd like to see done to the building. And then based on that, we can decide, yeah, we want to do something with it. We can look at funding options and what potentially could be done and what it's going to cost to restore it cosmetically on the outside. I don't know that a building of that age, that there's much value in the building itself outside of the historical significance of it, if that is the case. And like I said, I don't want to speak for the community. So that's my opinion.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
I agree with Councillor McDonald. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. But I think we should, before we get all this, we should check to see if the structure is structurally sound and everything by a couple of the outfits in town, and a price out a new roof. And then we could go to the community to see what they decide they want to do. Because if it's unsafe to keep up and everything, the walls are falling in or rotten, we don't want to be responsible. But if it's could be repaired or refurbished, let's get a price and see if we can keep it. Thanks.
Councillor Bolio.
Yeah, I agree with both Councillor McDonald and Councillor Campbell. And also, when I received the email a couple of days ago or yesterday, I went ahead and started talking to local people in the community. It's a very historical building. It does have a very significant background. And from the people I contacted and stuff, and on behalf of the Métis, they don't want to see the building destroyed or demolished. They would like to see it restored and go to the local businesses or local groups in the community and even the local Métis itself to restore the building and update it to standard safety procedures. And if anything, for myself, if it is to be removed, I would like it to be removed to the museum park as part of our history here in Fort Smith.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you. I agree with all councillors here. I think going to the community and giving them the facts, like get the cost of what this is going to cost. If this is a large amount of money that taxpayers are going to have to pay for the restoration, or if this could be in partnership, give it to them. Let us know what we want done with it, because we don't want to pay for a whole bunch on a building that's not going to have, value for anyone, right? So I like the idea of putting it forward and giving the community the chance to tell us what to do.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, there must be some funding out there for historical buildings that we could tap into or find out things, or even to save or do an assessment. If we could look into finding some funding, that'll be good too. But we got to do an evaluation of the building first. Thanks.
SAL.
Thank you. I had hoped to bring some more information to council about the sort of a general sense of the cost from local contractors. However, it's been quite a busy few days for municipal services and our local contractors. So we were unable to do that, but I anticipate that we will be able to bring you a full briefing note I would suggest to municipal services in July.
Okay. I guess just to put my 2 cents in, it would be like, I'd put in for the extension, bringing us into fall on this one, because it's an unbudgeted item. Okay. The other thing I would do is I'd fill out an application to Historian Canada, is it? I believe that's the place. There's also another project I wouldn't mind to put on that map, is that Radium King there. But we'd have to talk to the museum first. I know they've done one attempt to it, but I think we could probably get them more funding. And I'm pretty sure that the leadership would back this, which would probably carry it a lot further. But yeah, I was thinking of that building, and then probably that old fire truck that you guys luckily never got rid of. But I'd like to see that there also. And like, if we're gonna do it, then I'd rather probably just keep it there. I don't really believe in everything going to the museum. Although if we're going to get rid of it, that's probably where, what I'd say is give it to them. But I think this is our artifact and we should probably keep it along here. I think in that little corner property, if you put the big new fire hall there, I think it would look pretty good. It'll all be tied in under 1 yard, but that's only my thinking. But yeah, I would put in for the extension, buy us some time, and then let's look for some funding. You know, we could go to the businesses, but I mean, the businesses are always steady, constantly being asked for donations and that, as well as the town, as well as any other organization. I would rather try to attempt to bring in new money. And with that, you could probably get the contractors to redo it and that, which would help out our private business sector. So anyway, those are just my 2 cents. Thanks. So are we good here or what? Okay,
What direction are we going?
Yeah.
Is she gonna put it on, just write letter?
SAO,
Should we table this to our municipal services committee?
Then she bring some costs or whatever.
Sorry. Also, we'll have to bring this to the unsightly appeals on Thursday because I think now we're going to be beyond the September extension that we did receive from bylaw enforcement. Because if we are going to seek out external funding, obviously that will depend on their funding application deadlines and when those fundings are open. And then if we do need to get an engineering assessment of the building, we'll have to schedule that as well. But I think we can certainly bring you something more substantive at municipal services in a couple weeks.
okay, is there anything kept in that building?
It has potentially some stuff, some old stuff in it that nobody knows exactly. So our goal was to get through it this week, but it might not happen until next week.
Okay, Councillor Campbell.
Question, is that on town land or the Métis land? That's because I thought the Métis were at one time were thinking of building houses there.
SAO.
I believe it is on town land. I would have to go back and look at the map again now that you've made me question myself, but I believe that green space is all town land.
Yeah, I do believe it's town land because I looked at it as a potential fire hall place there.
The Métis talk about building in there. They got some ideas there, and when we're talking, sorry,
Good.
but there's some. I thought they wanted to put some buildings there. That's why I question it.
Then probably our map is a little bit older than. Councillor Bolia.
Yeah, just to confirm, I sit on Métis Council and I can bring some information back at the next meeting about the lot there.
So that red firehouse might be on Métis land?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. You could have it.
That's what I.
Do we need a motion to table this to our municipal? No? Okay.
No, I think this was just for direction, and I think you've given me adequate direction to bring it forward as an actual briefing note item.
Okay, thanks. Next would be the generator.
Again, I haven't prepared a briefing note for this. I think really, again, I would like some direction from council in regards to we had talked about the need to obtain a generator, a proper generator for the community and recreation center for a couple of reasons, primarily because it is our emergency shelter. And right now there's no generator to operate the systems in there. So should there be a power outage, we would lose all of our lights and our soon to be air conditioning, which will be going in this summer. So that would kind of defeat the purpose of having an emergency shelter. The second issue with it is that there is no generator or backup system for the pool operational components when the power goes out, the pool floods the basement's control room. So for those two reasons, we talked about the importance of getting a generator put into there. Council has budgeted $1 million in the capital budget. We had hoped to be able to go to disaster mitigation and adaptation funding to see if we could get some funding, if this project would be applicable for that type of funding. However, that funding pot is currently unavailable because they are still processing last year's applications. There were so many applications across the country that they haven't even gotten through the ones that were received in November. I have gone out to an engineer, to the engineer that an architectural firm that is doing or has been doing the work on the recreation or the community recreation center with CAP Construction, and they have given me a quote of approximately $55,000 to design the system as well as the sheltering, the building that it will be housed in. So just would like, before we go any further, if council feels it's appropriate to continue on with this firm at this time to keep it moving forward, and as they are already working the systems, or if they would like me to put the design out for competition.
Councillor Campbell.
Okay, can we put the design and consultant tender out now? Even though that we have CAP Construction working on the place, I think we could, if we get a design in that, put it out for a month, ask for requests for tenders for an engineering firm to give us a design like for the size of the generator and size of the building and the pad and everything, and the size of the wires coming into our main control. And then we put it out to tender before winter.
Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Campbell. I'd like to perhaps put this out to tender. If someone here is locally able to provide that service, the $55,000 is this just to design the housing unit for the generator? And then it's going to be an additional to purchase and build? So this $55,000 is just to draw the, how you're going to set up the generator and house it?
And the size of it?
And
SAO.
Yes. So yeah, this would be a design to ensure that the generator that we are looking to purchase will, and I think Councillor Campbell kind of described some of those steps. The size of the generator, how it will be linked into our system, it'll, what kind of trenching it might require, to make sure that it's able to manage all of our systems within the building, and then there would be a structure in which it would be housed. So it's the technical part at this point, and then the second half would be putting it out to tender for purchase and purchase, build, and purchase, build, and install.
Councillor McDonald, thanks.
So in this quote for $55,000, is there any economy of scale linked to the existing work that they're doing for us now? Or is this simply a quote that everyone else off the street would get exactly the same price?
SAO.
I wouldn't be able to answer that. I mean, these are the people who are currently designing our systems with regards to our upgrades to our electrical and our mechanical systems, including our air conditioning. So, I mean, perhaps because they are more familiar with the system, there's some economy scale, but it wasn't presented that way.
Campbell.
Well, I'd like to see us put it out for design services for the new generator at the rec center. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Ferguson.
I agree with Council Campbell. Not that I have any ill about the work that TAG is doing. I think that we should ask and put it out. Maybe they're going to be coming back with the winning, this is their bid, but we should ask if others, because if it's just to design to the what your building specs need, I think lots of folks can come back with that kind of quote for us and put it to tender.
Any other questions? Okay, so then we're gonna put it out to tender, right?
So I don't think you need a motion. I'm just seeking direction based on, timeliness around this and whether you felt comfortable engaging a second firm based on the fact that TAG is actively involved in the CRC right now.
Councillor Campbell.
Oh, yeah, I agree that TAG is actively involved, but all they have to do is get the load of the amperage and everything coming in and size it accordingly to what the whole building is. So if we could put a tender out, I don't know how quick we could do it, a couple of weeks, and then review it for a week, and then put another as-built, to build tender out, to order and everything. We should be able to pour concrete before the end of September, while it's still warm, and do the trenching. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I guess I'm just curious as to turnaround time. I'm not opposed to putting it out to tender. I'm just thinking of timelines at this point in the summer. If we tendered even for 2 weeks, can we pull together that scope of work of what we're looking for in a timely manner? We get it out for 2 weeks. Once a consultant's hired, what is their work plan going to look like? Is that going to be 6 or 8 weeks before they get us design drawings to put to tender? Or like, I'm just thinking timeline wise, like that's the area here that concerns me is, are we going to drag it out so we're not going to be able to award a construction tender till October, and then it's going to wait till next summer and et cetera? That's my concern. So but I don't know the timelines of this specific project.
Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with what you're saying there. I almost think that because this is an additional, beyond the scope of work, what they're doing now anyway, with the way purchasing for supplies, materials and all that, I don't even think you're not going to likely get this installed when you want it in September, October, November. As even if you got TAG at right now, they're going to draw it up tomorrow, get your thing there, blah, blah, blah. The folks at Cab Construction still then got to take that information, make their arrangements, plan, organize, and buy their supplies. With the way it is now, wouldn't that still delay it?
It would, all that work we're just talking about consulting, just the drawing, that's it, no construction, that would have to go to tender. So we're not adding it on to the rec center project. This would just be the consulting component, if I'm correct. The engineering and consulting, I should say.
Councillor Campbell.
Well, we could put it out there for 2 weeks, see what we get back, and then go. I think we'll get response back, because they're always looking for work, and it's a small job. They'll come down here and do a quick assessment and give us a report back, and then go from there. If we get the pad, the underground work done, the generator is probably going to take 16 to 20 weeks, maybe more. But at least we'll have the pad down and they can start building a house and ready to move in whenever we get it. But we got to have it ready for end of September pour, so it's not freezing.
Okay, SAO.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that probably I can have that tender out by the end of next week. And I think, yes, a 2 week turnaround on that tender because we can let some particular companies know that it's out. We will be able to then, I anticipate we will to award the tender right after closing because we will be able to assess it based on cost. And yeah, that's probably going to take, I'm going to guess it'll take at least a month based on some of our other projects, at least a month for us to get design back. So that will take us to mid-August-ish, mid to late August probably. We will probably then we could have the design company write the tender for install or for the acquisition and installation to cut us some time there. So there are some options to try and get that timeline cut down on the tender for the second stage of the project. And it's unfortunate we're a little bit late on this, but ultimately I was waiting for the disaster mitigation funding. There was supposed to be an application window this spring, summer, and because it just never opened. So when I contacted them, they said they weren't going to be opening it probably until the fall again. So, and I really wanted to see if we could get some of that funding, but it doesn't look like it's going to be available to us in a timely fashion.
Okay, so I guess you got your marching orders then.
I feel like I do. Thank you.
Okay, carrying on. What is this? Proclamation?
No proclamations.
I move that Deputy Mayor Herron, Councillor Coral, and Councillor Pissinger be excused from tonight's regular meeting of council on June 28th, 2022.
I'll second that.
All in favor, pass unanimously. Absent of councillor members. Oh, you just said that. Okay. The date of next meeting would be June. No, that's not it.
Last page.
Okay, the next meeting will be July 5th, 2022. Community Municipal Service Standing Committee is July 12th, 2022. Regular council meeting is at July 19th, 2022.
I move that the meeting be adjourned at 8:14 p.m.
I'll second that.
Any questions? Pass unanimously.